Welcome to pre-registration for the 2015-16 school year. It's hard to believe we're looking to next year already. Listen closely to how you can help choose classes that will be the best fit for you. Throughout this presentation, you'll hear the details about how to pre-register for the classes you'd like to take next year. If you pay close attention for the next several minutes, you'll be better equipped to know what classes to register for, as well as what you might need for graduation. There are several issues to consider, and we want to make sure you're aware of each of them. You might be asking if pre-registration even matters. It does, and here's why. The master schedule, which is the schedule we create with classes in specific blocks, is based on what you write on your pre-registration form. We work hard to make certain there are as few conflicts as possible. For example, if several students write on their pre-registration form they want to be in both AP English Language and Advanced Drama, we'll do our best to make sure they are not scheduled at the same time. If your form isn't accurate, we may create conflicts for you simply because we didn't know that they existed. When possible, we make space in classes based on the number of students that select a course. If you don't have a course listed on your pre-registration form, there might not be space for you in that class. Making sure your pre-registration form accurately lists the classes you would like to take is critical. The question is, what classes should you take? As you see from these lists, there are several courses you must take your sophomore, junior, and senior years. Each year you need Bible, English, and history. You may have applied for honors, AP, or arts classes. If so, you'll hear whether or not you were accepted on March 23rd via email. This is true for all AP, honors, and arts classes. Please do not turn in your pre-registration form until you know for certain. The same is true for math. Recommendations will be emailed home on March 23rd. If you have any questions about what math class is the best fit for you, don't turn in your pre-registration form until you receive this recommendation. Forms with blank spaces will just be returned to you. Again, an accurate form is extremely important. When you're deciding what electives to include in next year's schedule, don't forget graduation requirements. You need 2 credits of a career concentration course. This includes technology, business and marketing, and some arts classes like advanced photography. You need 4 credits of Spanish or an outside foreign language. If you're taking a foreign language outside of King's, keep in mind it must be 2 years of the same language and it must be approved. If you have any questions, stop by and see Mrs. Neild. You need 2 credits of a fine or performing art, and you need 6 credits of math and 6 credits of science for graduation. We highly recommend, however, that you take 4 years of each, as colleges around the country are looking for strong academic candidates who include additional math and science in their course selections. Keep in mind that chemistry and some form of Algebra 2 must be included as one of your graduation requirements. For the classes of 2017 and 18, you're required to have 4 credits, which is 2 classes of PE. You took 1 PE class in 9th grade, and you must take an additional course. The second class is waived if you participate in a sport at King's. See Mrs. Neild if you participate in a sport outside of school, and we can make certain that it's approved. Because of this requirement, we will most likely need to add PE courses to our schedule. We're interested in the types of classes you might find interesting. Take a quick look at the back of your pre-registration form. Under the PE section at the top of the second column, you'll see Note Other PE Interests. If there's a specific class you think might be interesting to offer, jot it down for us to consider. If you'll be a sophomore or junior next year, you want to consider the courses you plan to take your senior year and what prerequisite those classes require when filling out your current pre-registration form. For example, if you know you want to take AP Biology your senior year, you must make sure that anatomy is part of your junior year schedule. State colleges in Washington require that you have a math or algebra-based science, which is chemistry or physics, in your senior year, or that you've taken pre-calculus sometime during high school. If math and science are not your strong subjects, you'll want to look ahead to make sure you can meet this requirement. It might mean that you save chemistry for your senior year, or pace yourself in math classes. If you have questions about what's the right choice for you, stop by and talk with Mrs. Young or Mrs. Urey. The goal is to keep the big picture planning in mind when choosing your classes. When choosing courses, also make sure you look closely at the requirements and prerequisites. Here are just a few. If you applied for Abundant Life or Living Faith, you'll receive information regarding admission on March 23rd. If you are in Abundant Life or Living Faith, you need to participate in one term of FlexBlock Choir. You need to participate in choir during the term you are not in Abundant Life or Living Faith. When your math recommendation is sent to you, you must pre-register for the math course you're recommended for. If you want to register for a course other than that, you need to see your math teacher for a waiver. You may be required to take a placement test. AP English language students must take the AP Language Review in the spring FlexBlock. This makes certain you're prepared for the May AP test. This is also true for AP Physics. If you register for the course, you must take the AP Physics Review in the spring. If you're in both of these, note them both on your pre-registration form, and Mrs. Neild will work with you to find a solution. On the back of the pre-registration form, there's a list of classes. All of those with an asterisk next to them have a prerequisite. Be sure to read the course description that will be included on the link emailed home this afternoon if you have any questions. Let's take a minute to talk about filling out pre-registration forms. First, we'll focus on next year's sophomores and juniors. To begin, you will choose between the required courses already listed, for example, between English 11 and AP Language. You will then need to fill in all of the elective spots available. Include math and science, remembering to look ahead to your senior year. Will you take a math or algebra-based science in your senior year? This may guide your math and science choices for 10th and 11th grade. Also be sure to consider what you still need for graduation. Have you had a career concentration course, Spanish, a fine art? You might have several spaces for each of those. Do you play a sport at King's, or do you need a PE class? The most confusing portion of the pre-registration form is classes that are during Flex and only run half of the year. You might not have any of these. Your FlexBlock class may run all year long. If you choose courses listed in the box on the back of this form, you'll need to make sure you have a fall class and a spring class listed on the same line. Here's a sample of the courses that run half a year long. You'll find this list on the back of your pre-registration form. This might be confusing, so let's take a look at a few examples. This student circled Bible 11, U.S. History, and AP English Language. Their elective choices are Pre-Calculus, Anatomy, Beginning Acting, which is the new name for Beginning Drama, Spanish 3, and Marketing. In line 9, this student decided to take SAT Power Prep in the fall and AP English Review in the spring. They must be listed on the same line. If they aren't, you would only be pre-registering for FlexBlock for half of the year. Here's a sample where the student doesn't want any classes that run half of the year long. One of the courses they choose will most likely run all year during the FlexBlock. Here's a sample of a sophomore schedule with no half-year courses during Flex. Here's a sample that does have 2 half-year courses listed, Film and SAT Prep. Although we'll do our very best to create a schedule that meets the needs of all of our students, we can't guarantee that you'll get every elective you request. An accurate pre-registration form is the best way to help. Also, be sure to pay attention to the parent signature, student signature, and clause at the bottom of your form. Now, let's look at the senior pre-registration form. To begin, you'll choose between the required courses already listed, for example, between English 12 and AP Literature. You will then need to fill in all of the elective spots available. Think through what classes you need for graduation. You received a list when you met with Mrs. Uri earlier in the year. Make sure all of the courses you need for graduation are on your pre-registration form. The top portion of this form is pretty straightforward. You choose from the required classes listed as mentioned, and then select 4 full block elective classes. Elective options are listed on the back of your pre-registration form. The trickiest portion of this form is picking FlexBlock classes. Seniors, please pay close attention to this. Look at the bottom portion of your pre-registration form. If you need speech, which is a graduation requirement, you will choose one row to complete, A, B, C, or D. Look at which row you would like to have speech in. This is the row you will complete. You will not complete any other row. If you've had mock trial or mock trial foundations, or if you participate in Ethics Bowl, you do not need speech. You have met that graduation requirement. You will use row E. Simply fill in what you want for each semester. Let's look at a few examples. Here's an example of a student who chose speech first semester and C.S. Lewis for the rest of the year. Here, the student chose late arrival first semester, speech second semester, and studio art semesters 3 and 4. In this example, the student has already fulfilled the speech requirement by taking mock trial. They've asked for psychology during fall flex and AP physics review during the spring flex. In this final example, a student has already fulfilled their speech requirement. They want to continue in mock trial and have listed it on line E. There are a lot of options for flex. Let's just take a look at a few of the possibilities. In line 1, you may choose speech semester 1, the first 9 weeks of school, and take C.S. Lewis the rest of the year during flex. Line 2, you may take speech semester 1, have a late arrival semester 2, and take a half-year elective for the second half of the year. Remember, classes that run half of the year are listed on the back of your pre-registration form. For almost all flex block classes, you must attend the first portion of the class, which is semester 1 for fall classes, semester 3 for spring classes. It rarely works to hop in halfway through a course. In line 3, you may start the year with a late arrival, take your speech second semester, and have a half-year flex block class, semesters 3 and 4. In lines 5 and 6, you may choose to begin the year with a fall flex block class. You could have speech either semester 3 or semester 4. In line 7, a C.S. Lewis student may also choose speech 4th semester. There are a ton of possibilities. Keep in mind you do not have to take a late arrival. If you're running into conflicts, just set up a time to talk with Mrs. Urey, Mrs. Neild, or Mrs. Young. We're now ready to talk to everyone about the final details of this process. Pre-registration forms must be turned into the main office by Friday, March 27th by 3 p.m. If your form is late, you'll be registered last for classes. All application decisions, including AP, honors, and arts courses that required an application, along with math recommendations, will be emailed to you on March 23rd. Please wait to turn in your forms until you have these decisions. This will make certain your pre-registration forms are correct. Just a reminder, a link to this presentation, along with pre-registration forms and class descriptions, will be emailed home later today. Please review this information, and if you still have questions, make an appointment with Mrs. Urey, Mrs. Young, or Mrs. Neild. We're happy to help with planning or clarification, so stop by anytime. Have a great day.